Welcome to Faces of Parkinson's. I'm Robert Cochran, and I'm joined today by Dr. Sarah Mulakutla. How are you, Sarah?
Very well, thank you. Hi, Robert.
It's nice to meet you. And you're joining me from upstate New York, is that right?
Correct, just outside of the city.
Wonderful. Well, it's nice to see you, and thank you so much for being here. We've been talking a little bit before the call about Parkinson's, and I want you to give a background, first of all, of which agency, I'm sorry, the name of it that you're involved with it. It is the American Academy of Neurology, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And tell me about that and why, and the work you do there.
Yeah. So, American Academy of Neurology is the largest professional organization of neurologists. It has about 30,000 members, both nationally in the US as well as internationally. And a few years ago, I started teaching meditation to neurologists. Given my background, I've been studying meditation, how it affects the brain for many years. And that's both been well received, but it also led to meeting other like-minded neurologists that really understood that what we do on a daily basis has profound impacts on our nervous system. And we formed a section called the Section on Neurohealth and Integrative Neurology. And I'm the founding and chairperson of that section. We are a group of doctors that are navigating this really interesting and exciting landscape of novel studies that are coming out for the various ways that we might be able to help treat neurological disorders. And it's still in nascent stages. So the research is still a little bit early, but it's promising. There's some major themes that are emerging, and we can talk about what that is for Parkinson's. Because Parkinson's is a field that really speaks to needing those types of therapies.
Let me jump in there real quick. Why is it in particular you see that Parkinson's needs those types of therapies? I've expressed some of those before with my dad's frustrations, but perhaps you've seen it on a larger level. Why does Parkinson's need these different types of therapies?
So on the most basic level, people with Parkinson's will tell you that their symptoms can fluctuate dramatically from 1 minute being fine to the next minute being frozen. So what is it about this, minute to minute, hour to hour, day by day fluctuation? And if we can help patients understand what actually influences their symptoms on more than just the medication, not looking at the cellular or the pharmacological level, but how they can learn to control their body. So that's why when I meet with people with Parkinson's, just learning about the various techniques, they feel well and they see the impact. Both they feel it, see it, and their loved ones around them can see a dramatic impact. And I think that's probably something you saw with your improv theater, that by creating these healthy scenarios for people with Parkinson's, we can help strengthen the parts of the brain that work really well.
So tell me more about that, because you jumped on the improv thing, so I'll yes and in our terms. What have you seen about improvisation that you think is positive for people with Parkinson's?
Well, recently I told you I had a patient who did an acting workshop, and he reported that his symptoms of Parkinson's actually completely disappeared while he was playing that role. So beyond that, I have not participated in improv for Parkinson's, but it makes a lot of sense to me that it would be a very healthy activity. First of all, it's human connection. They're spending time with others. There's laughter involved. There's silliness involved. This all activates the parasympathetic nervous system in the body, and it sends a signal that it's okay to let our guard down, to relax. What I will say, the parallels in my experience when we practice yoga and meditation together, people with Parkinson's, when we can help calm the body down, the motor system works better. So not only is it helping to create a safe and enjoyable space for people with Parkinson's, so it makes sense, it improves quality of life for that reason by bringing more joy into our day-to-day activities. But the other part about improv and acting is that it challenges people with Parkinson's to do something they're not used to doing. And we've seen that can bring out tremendous capacity, that suddenly they're motivated by something other than their default behavior patterns. So, from a neurologic perspective, when we teach these new skills, a different way to interact with people, a different way to respond to scenarios, we actually trigger novel neural networks in the brain.
That's excellent. Yeah, I've seen that exact thing that when people feel safe and they feel respected, they let their guard down. And some of the testimonials that I received from the few workshops I've run already talked about people feeling deep relaxation and connection and wishing that they could continue the very thing we were doing right then. And I don't think people often who don't have Parkinson's recognize the chronic pain that goes along being in this sped up state that is kind of a default part of having the disease.
Yeah. It's very interesting. We talked a little about what is it like to have Parkinson's, and certainly I can't speak from personal experience, but I've explored that phenomenon, and their brain and their bodies just aren't working the way they used to, and not responding the way that we traditionally are used to communicating with our body.
Very good. Now, tell me, you started Mindful Neurology, right? That is your own part of things. I don't know if it's correct to say a subset of your larger work, but tell me about Mindful Neurology and how that plays out and where people might see this affect their communities.
Yeah. So I did open my own private neurology clinic to be able to focus on this work. And so I do offer sessions, a lot of mind-body training, I call it. But we do a range of meditation and we do yoga together. We're still working on the infrastructure for it. I just finished a retreat where we were together for 4 days, and we introduced concepts such as cooking and what a routine might be like that supports brain health. The other big aspect of this practice that's relevant for Parkinson's is the lifestyle things that we can do to support a brain that has a condition where we know the cells aren't working. There's impaired immune system, impaired metabolic functions in the body. So making sure that our diet is as clean and healthy as it can be, that each individual can find the right balance of how much to move and how much to exercise and how much to rest. So these are all complicated changes that one can incorporate into their life to really find how to be in an optimal state.
Right. So I think the word I used before, and again, correct me if this is wrong, but you sounds like you're trying to develop yourself into a hub of information that other communities can therefore pull from and say, that works for us. Because different communities, as I'm finding too, as I travel around, they have different needs. Does that sound about what like you're doing?
Yeah, I'm putting myself out there. I am spending time with people with Parkinson's and other neurological conditions. As a physician, I'm bringing the knowledge that I know about what's going on in the system, and also bringing in what I see from the American Academy of Neurology, what's happening in the field nationally. And so all of that is filtering into the programs that Mindful Neurology aims to offer. We're trying to bring the best of what the research shows, what's the hot topics, the pulse of new and developing fields, and then figure out how to offer them. What's the infrastructure? Are we doing this in the community? Are we doing it in hospitals? What's the appropriate fee structure, or can we get funding? Is it research that will then support our health insurance systems to pay for it? So these are big questions. We know there's a need for it. The research is showing there's promising direction. And then I think myself and you also, you're part of the movement that's out there and just trying to bring these therapies to people because we see it, we know it's right. What's the next step to have larger impact?
Right, and that's where we get to, I think, the thing we said before, and we can couch it for today, but is that integration between the known, the traditional, versus the lesser known and the developing, and how do we get them together? I think that's basically what we're working on, correct?
Yes, we're working on. And I'll touch back on what you said about the community aspect of it, that it's true that, first of all, different people in different communities may have various interests, and there may be various skills that are available in a particular community. So these concepts of a brain healthy lifestyle, of mind body therapies for people with Parkinson's, are gaining a lot of momentum. And I think the next step is to encourage all the community efforts that are out there, to try to reach out with local neurologists, as well as skilled therapists in your community, to have dialogue, to hold events where everyone can be in the same room together, and help inform your local neurologist and neurology community. Let them know what's working for you. This is a message to people with Parkinson's. Share this information, and I think that will filter back to our community of neurologists so we can help work together to figure out what's the best direction to move forward.
One final yes, and in that exact thing you said is that one thing I'm doing with this workshop, series of workshops, is trying as much as possible to encourage not just the people with Parkinson's and their care partners, which is wonderful, but also the medical and wellness providers to participate, to get in the sandbox together, as it were, to experience this, because it's one of those things that sometimes these programs do suffer from, is they lack enough known out there in the academia world to be able to point out. The quantitative is sometimes missing. The qualitative is excellent. People can speak about those all day. So we try to, as much as possible, get people not just to look at them, but to, as I said, get in the sandbox and all of a sudden experience and go, oh, I can empathize, because when we can develop empathy for each other, it just seems like everyone's going to communicate at a higher level.
Yeah, I fully support that. And I can't say enough how important it is, the experiential aspect of it. So exactly, as you go out, I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, to reaching out, to getting the word out. I think, with this movement that we've seen, that the time is right. And sometimes we just have to ride the wave and see what happens. I think you're doing that. I think you're doing a great service. As we mentioned, there's the study that supports improv for people with Parkinson's. There was a recent study that shows that yoga is also both effective from a physical perspective as well as a psychological, emotional perspective. So bringing people in, making these services available, it's just going to build the foundation.
All right. Well, we'll keep doing it. It's so nice to have met you, and this won't be our last conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks so much, and keep me updated. I'm sorry I won't be able to attend the July 18th workshop, but certainly I'll let anybody I know know.
Blast it out there for us. Let them know.
I will. Okay.
All right. Well, Dr. Milakula, thank you very much. For Faces of Parkinson's, I'm Robert Cochran. We'll see you next time.